Order reverberated through the grand chamber, the crystalline walls trembling like struck bells as the council convened. Light poured through the vaulted dome, scattering into a kaleidoscope across polished stone, designed to remind all present of our enduring supremacy. I had stood in this chamber countless times, a witness to the steady parade of hopeful petitioners, the swift judgments, the humiliations. It was theater, and we, the council's ambassadors, commanders, and advisors, were its well-rehearsed performers. Today was meant to be no different. Yet as the humans took their place upon the petitioner's dais, I felt something I could not name whisper at the edges of my composure. There were only 3 of them, 2 men and 1 woman, clothed in garments so plain they seemed almost insulting against the splendor of the chamber. No shimmering silks, no genetic modifications on display, no bodyguards bristling with weaponry. They carried nothing but their own composure. The woman, evidently their leader, bore herself with the quiet dignity of one accustomed to command. Her expression was not strained with fear or hunger for approval. Instead, she looked amused, as though she were privately aware of a jest no one else understood. High Counselor Vare presided over the proceedings with his usual booming grandeur. "The matter of Earth," he announced, each syllable echoing. "A young species, newly arrived among the stars, petitioning for recognition within our council. They seek trade rights, territorial freedoms, and cultural autonomy." He paused, letting disdain drip from every word, and the chamber chuckled obligingly. I allowed myself a small smile. That was how it always went. Petitioners arrived swollen with hope, certain their species had achieved greatness, only to be reminded of their true place. Those too stubborn to learn were sanctioned into silence, their names forgotten. Humanity, I assumed, would be no different. Their request was audacious. Recognition was not granted lightly, and certainly not to primitives. What fleets did they command? What fortresses guarded their borders? None. They had only fledgling colonies, meager vessels, weapons that belonged in a museum. The woman introduced herself with crisp authority. "Minister Bryn Calloway, representing Earth and her colonies. We thank the Council for receiving us. Our proposal is simple: free exchange of goods, freedom of movement, and mutual prosperity. We do not seek protection, only the right to participate." Her words were calm, confident, delivered without flinch or flourish. I found myself scrutinizing her more closely, searching for the tremor, the hesitation, the telltale sign of fear. There was none. Vare leaned forward, his frills glimmering in the refracted light. "Earth is unfit. You lack history, you lack fleets, you lack recognition. We have reviewed your petition. It is denied. Effective immediately, all trade with your species is banned. Any attempt at expansion beyond your system will be sanctioned." The declaration rippled through the chamber like a tidal wave. Applause erupted, voices jeered, claws rattled against the polished stone. The verdict was expected, but the spectacle was always savored. I leaned forward eagerly, prepared to drink in the anguish of the petitioners, the crumbling of their proud postures. Yet the humans did not crumble. Minister Calloway inclined her head with almost regal grace. A faint smile flickered across her lips, so subtle I nearly doubted I saw it. Then she said, with a tone both measured and sincere, "We thank the Council for its time." That was all. No outrage, no bargaining, no desperate pleas. She turned smoothly, gesturing for her companions to follow. The 3 departed the chamber with the calm assurance of delegates whose task was complete. A silence, brief but unsettling, lingered after their exit. Laughter rose again, though thinner this time, like echoes in an empty cavern. One of my colleagues leaned toward me, his frills quivering with mirth. "So much for Earth. Fragile things. They will vanish before the cycle turns." I laughed too, but the sound felt hollow. Their composure gnawed at me. I had seen 1,000 petitioners before, but none who accepted rejection so lightly. It was as though they had expected this outcome, as though they had planned for it. And that smile, small, unyielding, clung to my memory like a burr. The remainder of the session passed in tedious routine. Tariff disputes, border patrol budgets, quarrels between ancient houses. My attention wandered, pulled again and again to the absent presence of the humans. I remembered the way the woman's voice carried, steady, certain. I recalled the strange absence of humiliation in their departure. I wondered why, when every other defeated petitioner had looked diminished, they had seemed larger somehow. That evening, in my private quarters, I composed the required report. I described the council's decision, the humans' dismissal, the expected collapse of their ambitions. My words were precise, detached, crafted to reassure superiors that the system functioned flawlessly. Yet when I reached the conclusion, my hand paused. After a long hesitation, I added a final line. Recommend continued observation. Their composure was unusual. I sealed the message, but the unease lingered. I wandered to the balcony overlooking the city, its spires glittering like jewels against the darkness of space. Ships rose and fell in constant procession, the arteries of our empire pulsing with commerce and might. Everything around me testified to our supremacy, to the permanence of the council's dominion. Yet for the first time, I found myself doubting. I thought of an old proverb from my people's warrior past, before we traded blades for bureaucracy. The silence before the shot is not weakness. It is the sniper's breath as they take their aim. I had not thought of those words in years. Tonight, they returned unbidden. I told myself the humans were primitives, nothing more. Farmers, traders, naive idealists. They lacked fleets, they lacked soldiers, they lacked history. What could they possibly threaten? And yet, their silence echoed louder than any protest. Their smile lingered longer than any plea. Perhaps it was nothing. Perhaps I was chasing shadows where none existed. Still, as I extinguished the chamber lights and prepared for rest, I could not shake the thought that we had not dismissed them at all. We had released them. I lay awake, staring at the shifting glow of the city, wondering why I felt as though somewhere, unseen, someone had already leveled a rifle in our direction and was simply waiting for the right moment to breathe. The sanctions should have broken them. That was the consensus across the council, and I repeated it often enough that I nearly convinced myself it was true. When a species is cut off from recognized markets, denied access to official star lanes, and stripped of their rights to negotiate, they normally collapse. History was littered with such examples. Whole civilizations had vanished into obscurity, their names forgotten, after we sealed them out of the greater economy. It was how the council preserved order. Deny the upstarts fuel, deny them trade, deny them recognition, and they would fade away. And yet the reports began to trouble me. At first, I read them with amusement. A few independent traders spoke of profitable exchanges with humans. They claimed Earth offered goods at prices half the usual, with reliability unmatched. Foolish opportunists, I thought. Newcomers always offered bargains at the start, desperate to lure customers. But the tone of the dispatches shifted with time. The words changed from opportunism to loyalty, from bargains to preference. The merchants were not simply buying from Earth. They were reorganizing their entire operations around human contracts. I summoned my aide, a young diplomat named Ress, to verify the details. He was eager, sharp, still naive enough to worship the supposed perfection of our system. They are circumventing us, I told him, sliding the reports across the table. How are they doing it? He skimmed the documents and frowned. They use smaller ships, unlicensed routes. Fast, cheap, flexible. The council's fleets cannot intercept them all. And they do not haggle, sir. Their prices are fixed, their payments punctual. It creates trust. The word unsettled me. Trust was not a commodity we dealt in. Contracts were enforced through threat, not faith. To hear that traders were choosing humans voluntarily, without coercion, felt like a violation of the natural order. Within months, the numbers were undeniable. Minor species long resentful of council tariffs began shifting their commerce entirely to human channels. Colonies near the fringe openly petitioned Earth for partnerships. Worse, human technology, though crude in appearance, was spreading like spores. Their engines were less powerful than ours, but astonishingly efficient. Their agricultural units, laughably small, produced harvests that rivaled entire planetary systems. Every weakness we had mocked was revealed to be a hidden strength. Ress brought me another report one evening. His expression was cautious, as though he feared my reaction. Ambassador, you should see this. He activated the holoscreen, and a chart flared to life, showing the flow of trade across the quadrant. The council's routes sagged, their numbers shrinking. The human channels pulsed bright, expanding in every direction. This cannot be accurate, I muttered. They have no authorization, no legitimacy. They have partners, Rest said. The Scythe, the Kalari, the Vrin. Entire blocks are abandoning our tariffs. They claim human dealings are simpler, more fair. He paused. Sir, they are building an economy that does not need us. The words felt like a shot to the chest. I thought of Minister Calloway, of her infuriating smile as she thanked us for our judgment. Now I understood. She had not left defeated. She had left knowing the Council's decision freed them from our oversight. The cage we believed we had locked was nothing more than an open gate, and they had already stepped through it. When I brought my concerns before the Council, I was met with ridicule. Councillor Vare sneered across the chamber. So the primitives barter trinkets in the dark. Let them. They will tire soon enough. No system can exist outside ours. The chamber echoed with laughter, the same laughter we had once directed at the humans themselves. But it rang hollow to me. I could not unsee the patterns in the reports. Weeks passed, and unease spread. Official tariffs dropped, but shortages increased. Supplies once guaranteed through council fleets were now arriving late, if at all. Merchants whispered of better goods through human channels, cheaper, faster, dependable. Our citizens, our own citizens, began smuggling Earth-made devices, from power cells to medical kits. I even caught Ress fiddling with a human datapad, sleek and unadorned, yet functioning twice as smoothly as our sanctioned devices. Where did you get this? I demanded. He flushed but did not deny it. Everyone has one now, sir. They are reliable. They do not crash. They do not corrupt data. People pay triple to own them. The humiliation burned. We had mocked them for simplicity, and that simplicity had become superiority. Our own artisans, bloated with pride and subsidies, could not compete. The Council responded the only way it knew, with threats. Fleets were dispatched to seize unauthorized trade convoys. Tariffs were raised against worlds caught buying from humans. Decrees were issued branding human commerce illegal. And still the flow did not stop. It only spread further. I began to feel as though we were soldiers firing at shadows while the true enemy advanced unseen. No matter how many convoys we seized, new ones appeared elsewhere. No matter how loudly we condemned them, species we once ruled with ease turned their ears toward Earth. The humans were not defiant. They did not protest in chambers or challenge our fleets directly. They simply continued, steadily, like water carving through stone. One evening, Ress stood in my office doorway, his frills pale with unease. Sir, he said quietly, I think we may be losing. Do not speak nonsense, I snapped. They have no fleets, no armies, no power. They have something better, he said. They have patience, and they have a system that works. His words echoed through me long after he left. The irony was cruel. We had envisioned humans lashing out in desperation, raging against their sanctions. Instead, they had smiled, bowed, and walked away. We mistook that smile for weakness. Now I realized it was calculation. They had been aiming. I tried to sleep, but my dreams twisted with images of markets crumbling, colonies shifting allegiance, fleets rusting in port, while human ships darted unseen through the stars. I awoke with the bitter taste of inevitability in my mouth. We had thought ourselves the hunters, rifles aimed at the frail prey of Earth. But I could feel it now, the prickle of crosshairs against my back. The humans were not firing yet. They were waiting, patient as the sniper in the grass, breath steady, finger poised. And when they chose to release that shot, I feared the sound we heard would not be the crack of a rifle, but the collapse of everything we believed unshakable. Retaliation was inevitable. The Council could not allow a backwater planet to undermine centuries of order, not when other species were already whispering about defecting to human-led markets. I attended the emergency session where the decision was made, and though I voiced caution, my words were drowned by the clamor of those eager to demonstrate dominance. Deploy the fleets, Vare declared, his claws tapping against the crystalline podium. Let Earth and its allies learn the price of insolence. The chamber erupted with approval, and I found myself swept into the tide despite the unease gnawing at me. The fleets launched within cycles, their banners casting shadows over entire skies as they set course for fringe worlds trading with humans. I received my post as liaison, tasked with reporting the inevitable victory. Our warships were immense, each a floating city of soldiers and armaments, while human vessels were laughably small, fast couriers, agile freighters, but nothing resembling our dreadnoughts. The council predicted surrender within days. I almost believed them. Yet when the fleets reached their targets, the first signs of trouble appeared. Weapons malfunctioned. Systems glitched. Engines cut out mid-burn, forcing ships into humiliating drifts until technicians could restart them. At first, we suspected sabotage by traitorous crew members, but the failures spread too evenly across too many vessels. Entire squadrons found their targeting systems unresponsive, sensors flooded with static. Human freighters, meanwhile, slipped through blockades as though the universe itself guided them. I received a report from Admiral Korth, a veteran whose name once inspired fear across half the quadrant. His transmission was broken by interference, but his words chilled me. It's as if they know our systems better than we do. Before we even arrive, they're gone. When we fire, our weapons won't obey. It's like chasing ghosts. Ghosts. That was what humanity had become. Phantoms threading through cracks in our great war machine. The Council refused to accept failure. More fleets were dispatched, each with redundancies layered atop redundancies, each carrying orders to make examples of those who consorted with humans. Yet every effort collapsed under the same invisible hand. Shipyards reported sabotage of unknown origin. Munitions depots exploded without warning. Supply lines withered as convoys vanished into silence. The humans never fired a shot, but the result was indistinguishable from defeat. My aide grew pale with every new dispatch. He stopped meeting my eyes when he delivered the reports, as though ashamed by the evidence he carried. It's not just the fleets, he admitted one evening. Our own citizens are turning to human supplies. Medicines, tools, even food. They are better and cheaper. Colonies are refusing to pay council tariffs when Earth provides for half the cost. He hesitated before adding, some of my relatives have already moved to human-controlled zones. The admission struck harder than any council debate. Ress was young, loyal, bred to serve our system. If even his family abandoned us, how many more were already gone? I demanded answers, but no one could provide them. How did humans disable our weapons without firing? How did their freighters elude blockades with such ease? How could they outmaneuver an empire built on conquest and order? Ministers argued endlessly, blaming traitors, pirates, even supernatural forces, but none dared suggest the truth, that the humans had outthought us. And still, I could not dismiss the image that haunted me, the faint smile of Minister Calloway as she left the chamber. She had known. From the very beginning, she had known. The council attempted to rally support through propaganda. Broadcasts denounced humans as tricksters and criminals, their markets as unstable illusions. But the messages rang hollow, contradicted by the reality on every world where human goods arrived on time, functional and fair. Citizens compared the reliability of human devices to the bloated inefficiency of council-approved products and drew their own conclusions. Even soldiers, weary of fighting battles against enemies who never engaged, began smuggling human goods into their quarters. Loyalty eroded not with rebellion, but with quiet preference. I found myself walking the avenues of the capital one evening, disguised beneath a hood, listening to the chatter of ordinary citizens. What I heard chilled me more than any council debate. They spoke of Earth with admiration, of human merchants who treated them honestly, of devices that simplified their lives. They no longer mocked humanity, they envied them. The shift was subtle, but unmistakable. Authority was slipping away not with an explosion, but with a sigh. When I returned to my chambers, Ress was waiting with another report. His hands shook as he offered it. You should read this, sir. It was a petition signed by 3 entire colonies, demanding annexation into the human system. Annexation, not partnership. They no longer sought council recognition at all. They sought humanity's that I dropped the document, my tendrils curling with dread. We are losing everything, I whispered. Ress said nothing, but his silence was answer enough. From that moment, my dreams grew darker. I no longer saw human freighters darting like shadows. I saw snipers hidden in the undergrowth, their rifles steady, their sights fixed upon us. We had laughed at their insignificance, at their weakness, but each quiet maneuver had been another shot placed with precision. The silence we mistook for surrender was the silence of breath held before the kill. When the council met again, the chamber was restless. Reports of failing blockades, vanishing fleets, and defecting colonies echoed through the halls. Even Vare's voice faltered as he attempted to project authority. For the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. He muttered of escalation, of declaring outright war, but the suggestion sounded feeble even to his own ears. How does one declare war upon an enemy who never stands still, who never lifts a weapon, yet leaves you bleeding all the same? I remained silent throughout the debates. There was nothing left to say. I understood now, though none dared speak it aloud. Humanity had already won the war we never realized we were fighting, and we had helped them win every step of the way. The chamber adjourned in chaos, factions bickering, leaders snapping at one another like starving beasts. I walked out into the night and gazed across the city. The spires still glittered, the banners still flew, but I could feel the hollowness beneath it all. The foundations of our empire were crumbling, and no decree could stop it. I thought again of Minister Calloway, standing in this very hall, accepting our judgment with a smile. I understood her now. She had not thanked us for recognition. She had thanked us for our blindness. And as I stood beneath the glittering lights of the Capitol, I realized that we were no longer laughing. We were listening for the shot, knowing it would come, knowing it would not sound like war, but like the quiet collapse of everything we thought eternal. Panic spread through the council like rot beneath polished stone. Each session became more frantic, more desperate, the once proud chamber echoing with shrill accusations and hollow reassurances. Reports no longer trickled in. They cascaded, a flood of humiliations that eroded our authority. Colonies refused tribute, citing human contracts as their shield. Merchants bypassed our tariffs entirely, shifting loyalty with open defiance. Entire fleets, starved of resources and crippled by inexplicable failures, returned home in shame. The galaxy had ceased laughing at Earth and begun laughing at us. I watched the transformation with a sickened fascination. We had mocked them as farmers, tinkers, naive dreamers unfit for the galactic stage. Yet now every world whispered the same refrain: the humans deliver. They delivered food that did not spoil, engines that did not fail, medicines that cured without side effects. They delivered promises and kept them. And in that relentless delivery, they delivered our ruin. The final crisis came when the Council Treasury reported insolvency. Our vaunted currency, long considered the backbone of interstellar trade, collapsed almost overnight. I saw the numbers myself. Markets shifted to human credits at a pace no decree could slow. Vare tried to thunder about treachery, but his voice was thin, his claws trembling. Without wealth, our armies could not be supplied. Without loyalty, our decrees were ignored. Without pride, our empire was nothing more than a carcass waiting to be stripped. It was then the humans made their offer. No fleets appeared in orbit, no armies marched across our worlds. Instead, a simple transmission blinked across every comm channel, delivered with maddening courtesy. Minister Calloway herself appeared on the screen, her expression calm, her voice infuriatingly steady. The United Terran Accord recognizes the difficulties faced by our neighbors, she said, as though reciting a polite invitation. We extend an open hand. Any world, any people, any government that wishes to join our network of free trade and cooperation will be welcomed. No conquest, no coercion, only choice. Choice. The word landed like a blade between our ribs. For centuries, the Council had ruled not through choice, but through dominance. Now the humans dangled the one thing we had never offered, and species leapt toward it like drowning swimmers grasping for air. Within days, the defections began. The Scythe signed first, abandoning centuries of alliance with the Council. Then the Kalari, then the Vryn, each declaration a hammer blow upon our crumbling edifice. Even factions within our own empire petitioned for entry, their leaders smiling as they betrayed us. I attended the last session of the Council in silence. Delegates shouted over one another, some demanding war, others begging for surrender, many simply walking out to broadcast their allegiance to Earth. Vare pounded the podium until cracks spread through the crystalline surface, his fury a pathetic echo of authority already lost. "They cannot replace us," he screamed. "We are the Council. We are the Order of the Galaxy." But no one listened. I left the chamber before it dissolved entirely. The corridors outside were filled with petitioners no longer seeking our recognition, but begging for introductions to human envoys. Our guards had abandoned their posts. Our banners sagged. I felt like a ghost haunting a ruin that had not yet realized it was dead. In the weeks that followed, our transformation became complete. Humans did not invade us. They did not seize our palaces or dismantle our fleets. They simply ignored them, and soon enough, so did everyone else. Trade shifted, laws shifted, culture itself shifted, until our authority was no more than an old habit, discarded with a shrug. I, once an ambassador of standing, found myself summoned not by the council, but by the newly established Terran Trade Directorate. They did not gloat. They did not mock. They simply assigned me a position, customs liaison for outer sector imports. A bureaucrat. A clerk. My new office overlooked the same spires I once ruled from. But now the flags fluttering above them were not ours. They bore the insignia of Earth. The first day I reported for duty, I passed Minister Calloway in the corridor. She paused long enough to incline her head, the same faint smile tugging at her lips. That smile which had once infuriated me now struck like a final shot, clean and quiet. I lowered my gaze, unable to meet her eyes. She did not need to say a word. The victory was written in every corner of our fallen capital. At night, I still dream of battlefields, but they are not filled with soldiers. They are filled with markets, stalls lined with human goods, ships bustling with trade, laughter rising from those who once feared us. I dream of our mighty fleets rusting in port while human freighters dart effortlessly between stars. And always, I dream of that sniper in the grass, unseen, patient, waiting. We had believed ourselves the army, vast and invincible. We had laughed at the lone sniper crouched in the shadows. Yet it was the sniper who prevailed, every silent shot deliberate, every breath a calculation. We mistook silence for weakness, patience for surrender. In truth, it was the measure of their aim. Now I sit at my desk, stamping trade permits for goods I once declared illegal, listening to the hum of a human-made datapad on my table. My aide rests, once nervous and uncertain, now wears the crisp uniform of a Terran liaison. He works with efficiency I cannot fault, his loyalty transferred without hesitation. He speaks of opportunity, of growth, of a future brighter than anything the Council ever offered. I envy his ease, though I cannot share it. There is irony in my fate, though perhaps irony is the only justice the galaxy still respects. Once, I delivered judgments from a crystalline throne. Now I tally cargo manifests for the very people I condemned. Once I mocked their smiles. Now I live beneath them. I think often of how history will record us. Will they write of our arrogance, our blindness, our fall? Or will our names fade, as countless others did, until only one story remains? The story of Earth rising from mockery to mastery? Perhaps both. Perhaps neither. Perhaps it does not matter. As I finish another stack of forms, I glance out the window. A convoy of human ships glides past, their hulls gleaming in the starlight, their banners unassuming yet unmistakable. They move with quiet confidence, not the bluster of conquest, but the certainty of inevitability. Watching them, I understand the truth at last. The Galactic Armies laughed at Earth's sniper. We believed silence meant weakness, but the shots were fired long before we heard them, and each one struck true. We tried to bury humanity beneath our decrees, our sanctions, our arrogance. Instead, we planted them, and they grew.